The other thing I wanted to talk about was I got my Pokécology book, and I have some thoughts on it. So like mentioned, like Pokemon is going in the direction of being a little more like educational. I feel like it has always cared about the environment and it's always talked about conservation, and there's definitely been themes of green energy usage and all of that in a lot of recent games. I think they're going towards like more educational directions, especially with the Pokemon Fossil exhibit and things like this book. So I'm only about 20 pages in, so I can't review the whole thing. But in the first like 17 or 18 pages that I've gotten through, they are touching on real biological concepts, but they're not necessarily calling those concepts their name. Sometimes they do, but with things like sexual dimorphism, different forms for males and females, they don't give it the official scientific name. They describe what it is. So the concept is still getting talked about, but it's not necessarily being named in this book. But they are like going pretty deep into like what it is, which is pretty fantastic. I think it's still educational. And then they're talking about regional forms. I like how they've brought up regional forms and how species that are the same species in different areas can have a different look. I think that's pretty fantastic that they're touching on that here. They're definitely talking about like the behavior of Pokemon and interspecific interactions between different species. They touch on altruism, they touch on predation. But yeah, they don't necessarily name the biological concepts, but they are talking about the biological concepts, which makes sense a little bit, I guess. I think this is geared probably more towards children than it is towards adults, which is fine. I think that's great. Because Pokemon itself is a little bit more geared towards children than adults anyway. And the people who wrote the book, both of them have a PhD. So both the illustrator and the author have PhDs. Did they say what? Oh, here we go. This book and its vivid illustrations introduce you to the ecologies of Pokemon based on data from the Pokédex. Pokécology, an illustrated guide to Pokemon ecology, focuses on the similarities, differences, generalities, and relationships between Pokemon ecologies. The results of those observations and analyses are presented alongside spectacular artwork. The author and illustrator, both of whom hold doctorate degrees and have studied animal behavior and ecology, explain Pokécology from a brand new perspective. So they both have, like, at least biology or ecology type doctorate level degrees. So Pokemon's getting more and more interested in that educational perspective, which is pretty exciting. They also go into like how to do your own field work in Pokemon. Like they give you a little Pokécology fieldwork worksheet so that you can go through and fill out your own observations, which I think is fantastic. But you know, they're not calling it like question hypothesis results. They're calling it like observations and research topic, thoughts and discoveries that you're finding. So they're still kind of introducing the scientific method, especially for like observational type studies rather than like strictly experimental type studies. And then they're introducing real biological concepts, just not necessarily with the terminology. And this could be because a lot of that terminology is jargon and like pretty specific to people who have that level of knowledge, or it could be because like they just don't want to have to define the words for small children. But yeah, they also touch on adaptations, they touch on environmental ecology and environmental behavior as well. So yeah, I'm not sure what the age range for this book is. Oh, and then they talk about the authors. Really, really cool. So these are pretty phenomenally like well-published scientists that they had writing this book. So that's exciting. That's pretty darn exciting. So yeah, that's the Pokécology book.